Depends on the situation.
Yeah.
And this live feed is brought to you by Mountain Dew Voltage.
No, it's brought to you by Dr. Pepper.
Brought to you by
I get 30% off my Dr. Pepper because I post app.
Totally joking. We're kidding.
Are you the little mini Prince guy?
It's a sweet one.
Hey, what's up, everyone out there? Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, you guys know the drill. We're going to give you an opportunity to win some stuff. To start it out, we're going to give away a pack of addicted steelhead worms and
You guys are lucky. I almost put
Cody
those in my
Garvey
bag.
gets the first.
and some Mustad KVD triple grip trebles. So all you got to do is drop a comment, let us know where you guys are tuning in from, and then get the thumbs up going on YouTube and Facebook, and please share this out there if you can. If you're on YouTube, text message it to a couple buddies. If you're on Facebook, share it out there to your family, friends, Facebook groups, all the random areas, and let's get some people in here to talk fishing.
Hey, everybody. There you are. All the usuals popping in. Let us know where you're coming from, everybody. And if you've been catching some fish, drop a little yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down if you know somebody catching fish.
Yeah. I love seeing, dude, all the new, like, over the years as we've grown the live feed, it's just really cool to see just all the different areas all you guys are from. And we're all just addicted to fishing.
Yeah.
It brings a huge community of people together, and it's super cool.
Whether you're from right down the street here or from the other side of the country, or hell, a lot of times the other side of the world.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that chime in here from South America and, in Europe and everything else, so we appreciate you guys tuning in.
What are you doing over there, dude? Tying some bead leaders?
Working. Got a nice opportunity. I can click pans or I can tie leaders. What's it going to be?
It's tie leaders.
As long
What
as
should I
it's
do,
something
guys?
with your hands.
Actually, that's a really good idea. We should just have him tying leaders every week for all of us. Like, just filling leader rolls and stuff for us would be perfect.
I'll tie yours, Clint.
Yeah,
I'll tie all yours first. Yeah.
Yeah, 8 pound. 8 pound fluoro.
Oh, where we got people in here? We got Shelton, Washington.
Yeah.
Brighton, Colorado. What's up in
George, I
Colorado?
definitely
George, the
will.
Super chat. Jordan, call me later.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, we got a Nebraska in the
We got
building.
some Medfords chiming in. You guys, we're getting closer and closer to coming to visit you.
Yes,
next
we are.
week.
February 27th, we will be at the Roseburg Sportsman's Warehouse in Roseburg, Oregon. Obviously, if it's called Roseburg Sportsman's Warehouse, you're probably going to be in Roseburg, Oregon. but February
Tomorrow.
27th.
Where are we going
That's
tomorrow?
not tomorrow. That's next week.
Yeah, well, what if it was and none of us realized it?
No, we'd be in trouble.
Sounds like our life.
Hey, February 27th, though, we're going to be coming down with the Yakima Ford Ranger, dude. The thing is like,
The Pimp Mobile.
dude, it's dope.
It's cool, man.
It
We're going
is
to jump
us.
it. They told us, they
We're
gave us
just jump
permission
it?
to jump it.
They're making me, no. they're not.
Yakima
send.
racks. We're not going to jump it.
We're not jumping
It was a
in.
cool idea.
I think we should.
Yeah. Off camera.
Oh, hell no. We got to film that.
So tonight, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about drift fishing. It's kind of one of those things that I don't do very much. I have done a little bit over the years, but I don't do very much, as float fishing is kind of like bead fishing and float fishing and bobber dogging and all these different forms of using floats have kind of taken over steelhead fishing. You just don't see drift fishing as much anymore. But there's a lot of guys out there that still do it, and including you guys a little bit, don't
Yeah.
you?
And the thing about it, too, is I think why a lot of us, especially,
Yeah, already.
I think why a lot of us don't do it as much anymore, especially is because we're always fishing with each other a lot too. And when 3 of the guys in the boat are float fishing, you can't be drift fishing. That's something that goes in with this life too, is the etiquette of it. You can't. It's not a method that you do intertwined with float fishing a lot of the time. I can already hear it if I was with you all day and I constantly kept throwing a drift fishing. Like, Jesus, Jordan, quit drift fishing the whole time. You're screwing up the hole. You're spooking the. It's something that a lot of us have gone away
more
from.
be like, let's go.
Yeah.
What are we doing? I already covered this
Yeah.
entire hole with the float. Let's get the hell out of here.
But I think a lot of it is people have grown out of it because of the switch to a lot of float fishing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good method, especially if you're bank fishing. If you have the fortunality of having a boat and you can side drift and do some of that, like the last few days.
Where I see a lot of guys doing it, especially on like my local river, is when the water gets higher.
Yeah.
When the water gets higher, I see a lot of guys like put away their float gear and go to drift fishing.
Well, and one thing too is it's kind of counteracts it, but it's still in the same sense as I see a lot of. I've seen myself become more effective when the water's super low too, and the fish are in the fast narrow slots in the main channel of a run that normally would be a giant boil, and you can't fish it correctly. And when that water's in that perfect range, and those fish are in those tailouts and those boulder sections and those spots where you can't really drift fish because you're going to get hung up on too much structure or whatever it is. But higher, extreme water conditions, I think it's a great point. To use it then too.
So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, guys. We're going to dive in deep into drift fishing. But before we do, we got a few little updates. One thing that I think we need to talk about is these fisheries seasons that we just got set.
Goodness gracious.
So if you guys are not from the area, you don't get a chance to really understanding our fisheries out here sometimes can be extremely complex and hard to understand. So they just put out a notice today. Who put that out? Was that
no? So the spring Chinook notice that came out. Actually, I'm kind of for that season. I kind of like that. What they were thinking beforehand. They had the compact meeting today, and basically what they're going to do, guys. I think it's now. Don't hold me to this.
And so this is in the Willamette and Columbia River for spring Chinook salmon in the Pacific Northwest.
So the good news is they set a season, and I actually kind of like how they're doing it, where it's wide open fishing from March 1st to April 2nd above the mouth of the Lewis and the Columbia River. And then after April 2nd, it's going to go to this days per week, where every time they have, we're always pushing this quota thing. We're always getting close, and we always got to take it back, and then they always got to take a couple days to round up the numbers, and then we go over, or then they're worried about us going over, but then really we didn't because the water was muddy. And we play this really bad game. And what they're going to do this year is after April 2nd, they're just going to go to sets of days and then meet. And then sets of days, let the numbers catch up and meet. Sets of days, let the numbers go. And so it's a conservative approach because, of course, like everything, we have a very, I'll call it restrictive season upon us. I'm not on my phone texting my wife or anything. I'm just double checking the seasons because, like I said, it's fresh news to me here, and I will announce it. But so in reality, it's a good thing. We got a season. It's set. It's open.
Well, I saw a couple guys talking about how this potentially could extend our season into some of the better fishing.
Right. If they're not afraid of going over and they roll the numbers up and they see the opportunity. I mean, with spring Chinook, the reality is, pending conditions, the last day of the season is theoretically the best because we kind of fish on the early part of the run, and then we get shut down, and then those fish need to make escapement over Bonneville, and then we get some additional stuff because you're allowed to catch only so many fish, but then the early part of the season is only allowed to catch 70% of those so many fish, right? Well, once they know that the forecast is true, or at least the escapement is good over Bonneville, then they can open other seasons like in May. They can do some other things. So it's a pretty conservative approach. We still have the buffers set in. But if we fish later into April because of those later April days, those are the days you might want to take your vacation, boys and girls. So, most guys, there's already springers caught.
Yeah, I've been seeing that.
They're gonna, there's I hate, it's the word of opportunity, but what's that? I didn't see that.
It was alright.
What's the escapement goal
But-
if they went over the dam? Is there?
I'm not sure, but I think. Well,
If anyone's watching, sometimes Kevin Gray's on here, or some of the guys that work for the department. What's the escapement that they want over Bonneville Dam? That was just a question someone here in the studio had.
Yeah, I don't see the escapement, but we're basically allowed 2,900 fish.
Is that between sport and commercial?
It looks like that is just between sport. And so basically, the compact has already had meetings scheduled, blah, 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 to discuss more days per week fishing. So basically opens, closes for 1 day on 4/20 on 4/2, reopens on days per week approach basis, which will be Thursday, Friday, Saturdays only until quota is reached. So it closes on 4/2, so it's only open until April 1.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. So
Interesting.
The guys that I had booked on April 2nd, I'll be calling you. Sorry.
So go
juggling.
online. All that information's online. Be sure to check your regs before you get out there and fish. But
Right.
the good news is that we have a season. I know a lot of you guys are upset about the gill net side of things. What's your stance on that, Cam? Because I'm kind of getting to this point with the whole gill net thing where honestly none of us would be so mad about gill nets if there was just enough fish for everyone.
That's a fact, but
it's
the other thing too, which is sad. I mean, I don't care. I've worked on commercial boats. I was an observer for a lot of years. A Columbia River tangle net for a spring Chinook is a gill net for a steelhead. Period. There's no debate. There's no discussion. If they have those seasons that they're going to set with that quota, with that other 25% later on in the season, where they're not going to impact or
many
encounter
steelhead.
those wild steelhead, those wild steelhead that we get our pants sued off for the state for not showing up here and not showing up there. Like, we should not be sacrificing wild steelhead to eke out a few more Chinook, because if they go in with these 8-inch and 9-inch meshes, they hammer on the wild Chinook too fast. So it's kind of like a way they can kind of game the system. I don't believe we should be basically sacrificing wild steelhead to catch a few more hatchery spring Chinook. Go in with 8-inch, get it done. But if they have the season go later, less encounters, we need more fish.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't care how you do it. We need more fish. So.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I know a lot of people have been upset about it, but it's hard to get upset when it's
wouldn't be a
honestly none of us
discussion.
have fish. You know,
That wouldn't
It's
be a
like-
discussion if,
Right, I
if
mean,
we
like,
didn't have anything to discuss.
nobody cared that they gill netted in the fall of 2014, 15, and 16.
no one said a word.
So,
Hey, Brianna O'Daniel, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate that. If you guys don't know what super chat is, there's a little dollar symbol down in the bottom hand corner of the YouTube chat. It allows you to be able to basically highlight a comment by donating a little bit of cash to the channel. So if you like what we do, if you like our content, if you like everything about it, you can use that super chat button and you can contribute to our channel and help us continue to make cool videos.
I want to answer this. Right? So I see like Corey Art said, I actually think we should actually be able to shut down the commercial gill net fishery down for 15 years to build our fisheries back up. Well, here's the problem, Corey. They didn't even gill net the last like 3 years in the main stem. Like,
No.
you know, if you shut everything down, but you don't fix any of the real problems, habitat, hatchery production, if you don't fix anything else, you're not predation. Oh, thank you. You're not going to get more, and then the second you go back fishing, you're going to end up right back where you are. Like, we're not fixing the real problems. And I mean, at the end of the day, whether that's put more fish in, put the correct fish in, get rid of some of this avian predation that's taking 30 to 80% of our summer steelhead above McNary Dam. I mean, the answers are there. They've studied it to death. It's just time for action.
Yeah.
And until that happens, it doesn't matter. I mean, we could all not fish tomorrow. We could all, and it's not going to bring more springers back.
No.
Yeah.
No, they're gone.
So, anyways,
Clint, let's pick a winner
it's tough-
really quickly for these hooks and these worms from the beginning of the episode. Pick a winner there from the people that were commenting about where they were tuning in from. Who do you got? Jay Hag from Bend, Oregon. Thank you so much for tuning in, buddy. We got you some addicted steelhead worms and some mustad hooks. So shoot us an email to orders@addicted.fishing. Make sure to include your address and what you won so we can get this shipped out to you, buddy.
Let me clarify one more thing. When we're talking gill nets, we were talking non-treaty commercial Lower Columbia River. We weren't talking
Commercial,
Canadian tribe.
yeah.
We were talking non-treaty commercial. Sorry.
Yeah.
I want to be clear. It's awesome comment.
Sam
Wait,
Remington says,
slow down.
anyway, drift fishing question? mark?
Yeah, exactly. Let's not get sidetracked.
Well, we wanted.
But, no.
This is a big thing that we talk about every year, and there's going to be a lot of Springer talk in the coming weeks. So it's good to just kick it off with what the seasons are going to
Maybe
be.
no,
and
we-
Everybody
You know what we
wants a
need to do?
piece of those fish.
You know
That's
we
what
need
it
to
comes
do?
down to.
I think we need to bring some entities in, whether ODF and WWDFW, and really just lay out the complexity of this like season.
I think that'd be
setting.
really
We can
cool.
Get Bill Monroe in here. We can get some guys that've been playing the game for a lot longer.
I like
than
that.
have.
I like that.
Yeah.
Dean Doppelman, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. We appreciate it. And he says, just increase the hatchery and reduce the predation. Those would be two big wins.
Increase the right hatchery production, yes, and reduce the predation, hell yes.
That would definitely be some big,
That would-
big wins. So one more quick
That's-
announcement before we kind of start diving into drift fishing here. How many people we got watching, Clint?
I might only be showing one.
First of all, I'm going to show you guys what this next little prize is that we're going to give away, because these things are
Ooh, is that the
Oh, he's
tomahawk?
got a
badass.
sexy
That's the
Gerber box right
tomahawk,
there.
Man. That's what that is.
Let me show you
The
guys.
cheese cutter.
400.
Or tomahawk. I mean, whatever.
So there's about 400 of you watching. So if you guys want an opportunity to win this next prize, let me show you what it is here. If I can get it out of the package. This is, I'm going to open it, so you guys are not going to have the zip ties on there anymore, because I want to be able to show you.
You're not going to have the excitement of opening your new prize.
Exactly. I'm going to pre-open it for you.
You're not gonna be able to turn around and sell it on Amazon as
Right
brand.
after I cut
Exactly.
Jordan's face off.
Yeah, that's all right. We got cat-like reflex.
You could
This
use some
little guy
haircut.
right
You could use a
here.
haircut.
Is the little mini
Side
Gerber
cam.
side cam that action.
Let's see the case.
Wow.
These are called the tri-tip.
Quality.
Sidecan.
This
The
is called the
tri-tip.
Gerber tri-tip. So you can cut your tri-tip with it.
Maybe if I can get it out of there. It's got this.
Oh, he's gonna cut himself.
Ready?
Shing.
This
Sparkle,
thing is
sparkle.
Super. Those things are really, really cool. So we're going to give you an opportunity to win one
This
of
thing
those.
is a
So
stout little knife.
all the 450 of you guys that are watching, if you can do us a favor, share this out. If you're on YouTube, text message a couple buddies. Tell them to come subscribe to Addicted Fishing. If you're on Facebook, share it out. Family, friends, Facebook groups. Just don't share it in the Addicted Fishing group like 15 times. Because you guys do that a lot. We appreciate it, but
Hey Joshua, so
It
if you're
floods
saying you're
people.
just stationed, let me throw this out. Sorry, Marlon, those have super
no,
chat
good, yeah,
there.
yeah.
But if you're just stationed here in Washington, I'm assuming you're military, and if you are, do me a favor, go check out the Fallen Outdoors Facebook page. That's on YouTube, but go check out some of their stuff they got going on. They've always got fishing opportunities and events for you guys all around the state, so it's a good place to start. Check that out.
Yeah, feel free, Joshua, too, to send me a PM as well. Just
Yeah.
go on Facebook, Marlon Lefevre on Facebook, and send me a private message, dude, and I'll try to give you some pointers of where you can go get into some fish. We appreciate your service to our country, dude.
Thank you, buddy.
So yeah, we're gonna give you guys an opportunity to win that, and we're gonna make one more announcement here, and then we're gonna talk about drift fishing. Clint, you want to throw that flyer up?
Drum roll,
Drum roll.
please.
Yep.
There it is. So
Gonna be a
tomorrow from 5 to 8.
Drive all the way from the freaking coast.
Tomorrow from 5 to 8 at Sportsman's Warehouse in Vancouver, Washington, 5 to 8 p.m., we're going to be doing another one of our Addicted Bashes. There's 2 more left before we draw a winner for the boat. That rounds out the 12 bashes that we were going to do before we gave away the boat. So there's this one right now this week, this Thursday. Come hang out. It's going to be a good time. Get your raffle ticket to be entered to win that boat. At the Fisherman's Marine one a couple weeks ago, we had about 370 so people that showed up to the bash. So
Nuts.
let's beat it. This is like
Right?
This
is home turf.
this is our home. This is like my backyard. I've lived here my whole life. I want to see every single one of you addicts at this bash. Come hang out. Vancouver, Washington. It should be a fun time. It always is. The guys from Sportsman's will have lots of prizes to give away. Sportsman's Warehouse gift cards, all sorts of deals on gear that night. And then we'll have a bunch of prizes, free pizza, drinks, all that kind of stuff. It is a free event. I always see that question all the time. It doesn't cost anything to come. It is kid friendly, so bring your kids, bring your family. It's going to be a good time. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 5 to 8. And I got to get used. When I put the flyer out originally, it said 6 to 9, because that's what we do with every single one of our bashes. But Sportsman's closes at 8 in the wintertime.
Oh, ooh.
Can I answer something
why
here?
we moved it.
You done with that?
Yeah, we're done.
Sweet. Eddie B, yeah, they can, but the problem is, they hurt themselves too. Like, we get rate of returns that if we keep breeding the same German Shepherd over and over and over again, that rate of return goes down. So it doesn't matter if we put 1,000 or 8 million fish in, we're not going to be getting anything for it. So yeah, that's why they've kind of gone away from a lot of that Chambers Creek stock, and that's why, like, with the Hatchery Wild Coexist campaign, it's not just plant hatchery
it's
fish.
the right
it's plant
hatchery.
the right ones.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. Yeah.
I've seen a couple questions already. Yes, the bash in Roseburg is February 27th. February 27th, 5 to 8 p.m. is going to be the Roseburg Sportsman's Warehouse. And I want to see every single one of you guys and gals from Southern Oregon coming and hanging out with us. And then we're going to stay down there and fish for a few days. So if there's any of you addicts that potentially have something cool or somewhere awesome you want us to fish down there, or a river that you want to take us on, send us a message. Send Jordan a message or me a message. We already have something. We already have something planned for Friday. So that Friday, we're going to be fishing somewhere already. But right now, Saturday and Sunday, we haven't really made our plans yet. So we're it's up in the air. So hit us up if you guys want to do something cool or you have something fun that we may be able to work something out and go fishing with you.
It's gonna be a lot of fun going down there.
And
Bunch
all
of
you,
new people,
all you
new
Southern
faces.
Oregon people, we've heard it literally for 4 years.
Yes.
4 years. Get your asses down here to freaking do a seminar.
Dude, it was-
do a bash. Lord help us if we don't see you guys there. It ain't happening again. And every time someone comments, "When are you coming to Southern Oregon?" Oh, it'll be on. Like, okay,
Totally on.
serious.
Hella.
It'll be.
We want it to be packed. So February
I'll be like
27th.
totally
but
bad, like.
before you do, though, show up tomorrow, February 20th. Sportsman's in Vancouver.
Everyone north
Pack
of
the
Salem.
house.
tomorrow.
Yes,
The
everyone
one south
north-
of Salem.
Everyone
South.
north of Salem or south of Seattle, you better be in Vancouver, Washington tomorrow.
No, let's not beat 370. I think Sportsman's Vancouver would kill us.
Travis is probably watching my buddy that runs that store, and he's like, dude, what are you doing to me?
No.
Yeah, right, they love it, dude. They
Of
wanna see
course,
people
everybody's got to buy something. It's a special trip to the tackle shop.
there. We have not been to Medford, but isn't Medford not that far from Roseburg?
It's an hour and a half.
That's not that bad of a
Everything
drive.
south of Salem is kind of all in the same spot for me.
Yeah. Typical
Yeah.
Washingtonian.
If you're in Medford,
Where?
you need to make the drive to Roseburg, please.
Because Medford's south of Eugene and Roseburg is south of Eugene, so they can't be more than a couple hours.
He's an hour and a half. Someone on here probably knows.
Yeah.
Somebody will correct us. That's normal.
That's normal. Okay, I think we got all this stuff out of the way. Should we dive into some drift fishing action here?
Yeah, you guys really took care of those updates. That was
Yeah,
great.
that was great.
These
What-
people are updated.
Hour
Updated.
38 minutes.
Huh?
An hour 38 minutes.
Not bad, not
An
So with
hour and
Marlin,
38
it'd
from
be an
Medford.
hour exactly.
Yeah, we get there in an hour.
Drive
And-
fast.
I won't have any trailer tires left on my trailer after this trip.
Someone else is gonna be driving my truck, dude. I'm driving the Yakima Ranger.
Oh man. Shuttle rig.
I'm not riding with you.
I am.
I'll be
I am.
going down.
We're going to Friday's barbecue, baby.
What?
Down
Oh yeah.
Lonnie's mine too. What do you
Oh,
what
yeah.
mobbing?
Thursday after work, but I'll probably get there right when that's getting done.
Okay, sweet.
Oh yeah, nice.
Okay, let's dive in.
Yeah, let's get the people
Daniel
what they want
Funk, we
here.
will hopefully go fishing with Kevin Van Dam again. We already had planned on that. I actually still kind of talk to him on a decently regular basis, so he's busy as hell doing bass tournaments right now. But
Follow his updates. He's doing well.
yeah, he's doing really good in the tournament circuit so far. So Kevin Van Dam is an awesome, humble, amazing dude. You wouldn't think a guy that's made literally millions of dollars fishing would be as humble as he is, but he's a great guy. So we're gonna get out with him again for sure.
Super legit and fun, like just legitimately fun to fish with.
Yeah.
Awesome dude.
Never seen anyone like that just like the night when we were talking about recording I'll never forget the podcast, and he's like, I'm like, yeah, if we leave right now we can go, and he looked straight at me and said, I came here to fish, not record a podcast.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's because it's so funny, especially for how a lot of us work. We get a day to fish, and it's like, you make 30 casts in the day. You're pretty satisfied with yourself, pull a fish out, but it's just constant.
He just
You
was
It's fun to
But if you
watch.
think about it, it's no different than when we
The guy
went
that makes
tarpon
that kind
fishing.
of money fishing every day, and literally he's like, "Did you see how many were in there?" He's like,
he's so excited. Yeah.
Excited, yeah.
"Crazy."
Yeah, it was awesome. And we got his hat back there.
Oh, wow. With his lure on it.
Oh.
Gosh, we should put it in a glass box.
That's a little far.
He touched it.
All right, I think you're gonna probably need to switch spots with Cameron unless he's gonna be showing sidekick stuff for you.
I guess. You want to...
No, I'm tired of my
man.
Okay, well then we'll draw. Well, Jordan's gonna show riggings.
So
and
before
stuff.
we get into that,
Okay.
we'll go over the
before,
basics.
You still got some
Oh,
time.
okay, whatever.
Yeah, camp out.
Let's hang out. What's up?
And don't forget, guys, we're gonna give this. We'll pick a winner here. How about
You're gonna have to take
7:35 in
notes,
10 minutes? We'll pick a winner for this Gerber tri-tip, and then we got a few other things that we're gonna give away before the live feed ends.
Get it to 500.
Yeah, Clint says if we get it to 500 people,
456. You guys are failing us.
if we get it to over 500 people, we're gonna pick the winner for this thing.
Oh, man.
So what are you gonna start with, Jordan? What are you gonna talk about first?
I'm gonna quit yawning is what I'm gonna do first. We're gonna start with rod. If you're gonna drift fish and you are wanting to graduate into that drift fishing, it goes without being said for a lot of people who have steelhead fished at all. If you want to drift fish, you want to use a bait caster rod. A lot of it, there's a few different opinions. We're all gonna have a little bit different opinion on why that is. But for me, it's the way you hold it in your hand. It's the way you can feed line. It's kind of the calisthenics of that rod. And what I mean by holding it in your hand,
Can you tell me the definition of calisthenics?
Yeah.
just the way the rod works, like the motions that it goes through, you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
Why you gotta bust my balls?
I had to
dude?
call you out on it. I had to call you out because all the people, I feel like you get called out in a lot of tutorials. People are like, Jordan, you.
It's happened twice.
That's
all
a
right?
good word.
It's happened twice.
Oh, we delete those, bud.
Yeah.
Brutal.
If you ain't making fun of each other, you can't. You ain't having
you
fun.
don't fish with
Why
us.
are you fishing?
Don't fish with us.
All right. Well, tell me the word then.
That's
What's
bad.
the adjective? Exactly.
Ergonomics.
There you go.
Josh
Thank you,
Manning.
Josh.
College.
God.
Ergonomics.
Can I get the definition of that, please? Can you spell it for me?
Ergonomically correct is the definition. Anyway,
It's the way the rod stretches.
Not that
well,
one.
it's the
No, don't try. This is you're digging a hole, bud. Just stop.
it's the sensitivity is the biggest thing, right? Because
Yeah.
the way you're holding it and all your touch points on
Exactly,
the
and that's kind of how this X rod is designed as well, is with these touch points, and these
Side
are
cam.
actually got it. So that's actually why this rod is designed particularly like this, where you can actually get your hand to the actual blank of that rod.
in a few different places.
Yeah, in in 3 places within that grip, you can actually feel that rod, and what that does is it gives you that
on the
amount of
camera.
sensitivity all the way through the rod, and that's we stress a lot on this 9.9 X rod that they came out with.
Don't feel like you have to go get a 9.9
No.
X rod. This is top of the line, super nice Okuma rod, and we're really loving
It's new,
them
we're
so
showing
far, and they're new, so we've been
Right.
showing them. But there's a lot of rods out there that will work for you.
Well,
Talk
along
more
the
about
same
actions
point,
and
yeah,
stuff,
I was gonna say along the same point, the nicer and the higher level drift fishing rod that you buy, or bait caster rod
more
you buy,
sensitive.
the better it's gonna be for drift fishing in particular.
The difference between a $20 rod and a $300 rod when you're float fishing doesn't change the action of like the float and the presentation of the water. It's more your feel of it. So these guys
Yeah.
that run around with $600 float rods.
It does change. It does change a little bit because it changes the casting.
As I say, I'm like, okay, I'll give you some, but that's the action and not necessarily like 'cause
the
you
feel.
Can find some good,
yeah.
good quality bottle rods that are less than $100 that you can cast with. They have the right action.
Yeah,
If
the
you're gonna spend
GSPs
money-
are $99.97
and
sometimes.
they're fantastic. They are $99.97. But what I'm saying is that if you're going to spend money on a rod and you want to actually get into like that higher modulus graphites, just doing the more sensitive rod, like don't spend it on your float rod. Spend it on your drift rod
or
your
spoon
spinner
rod.
Exactly, or your hardware, which this is the same rod we're going to use for both a lot of the time, and it's that more direct presentation. It's kind of like what Cameron's explaining. You're not fishing your line to a float. You're fishing your line to the bottom and to the fish. And so the sensitivity and the quality of that rod is going to make your experience that much better if you have that higher end, a little bit nicer rod.
Yeah.
But again, the first fish, it's ironic now that we're all Okuma people, but the very first salmon I ever caught was on an Okuma Salilo 8.6. I think it's 6 to 12
Yeah.
bait caster rod. You
That's
know what I
awesome.
mean? And that was like way back in the day. And so that's what it'll work. And I actually still have that same rod in too.
And I see a lot of people like spouting out brand names and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, I'm going to say exactly what I just said online the other day. Fish whatever brand you like. At the end of the day, go into the store, pick them all up, feel them all, figure out which one you like the best. They're all amazing rods. Every single one of the companies,
Not all of them.
every single one of the companies out here at some model point, at some price point, they make a good rod. Now the difference in some of these companies though is going to be customer service, warranty, components. Those are going to be some of the differences in the rods. So in Okuma, you can get rods that are super down in the lower end model that you can get for a good price and be your cheap rod, and you can get ones up into the higher end model. You can do the exact same thing in every single one of the rod companies.
Some have better calisthenics than the other.
Yeah. So have better calisthenics. Exactly. And to be fair, I feel like we fished a lot of them. For years, we fished.
At least somebody in this room has touched almost every model of rod.
We fished
Yeah.
multiple brands across every single, and most of the popular ones in the Northwest. We fished them, and we landed on Okuma after years for a lot of different reasons. We've mentioned them multiple times. There's multiple things of why we've chose Okuma and stuck with Okuma over the years. But you guys need to make that decision on your own. And if part of that is us influencing you to try Okuma, do it, because you won't be sorry.
Right. But to go real, I would say, sticking with the rod for just a second, anywhere from that 6 to 20 pound rating is what I'm going to say, because there'll be different ranges in between there. The 6 to 12s, 8 to 17s, but 10 to 20. Maybe if you're drift fishing big weight,
Big water.
1 to 2 to 3 ounces. I mean, there's some spots over in like Central Oregon that I fish where you drift fish with almost 3 to 4 ounces sometimes when you're fishing 25
That's
foot.
insane.
It is. It's at
What's the
at
X
one
rod?
particular waterfall. It's a pretty
What's
cool
this
spot.
model? Isn't this 8 to 15?
I believe so. Or is this 8 to 17?
No, I'm pretty sure it's 8 to 15.
8 to 15, which is a super, and getting that kind of like in between line rating, I feel like usually is what makes the better drift rod, or makes my favorite. It's not having that 10 to 20 or that 6 to 12. That middle range, that 8 to 15 like that is a pretty sexy little range to live in if you're looking for a weight for a drift fishing rod. And anything from
What about
8,
line? Are you always using a braid, or what do you?
always using a braid. I'd stick with my rod before we leave that anywhere from 8.6 to about 9.5 feet. I wouldn't go any longer than that, or else you're going to lose a ton of sensitivity with that length. So we talk about that a lot with our float rods. But with the line, if I'm drift fishing or fishing hardware, I go with a 30-pound braid. I usually don't go heavier. Do you ever go much heavier than that if you want to be on bottom? And why that is, and you even see it if you're like trolling out in the big river, like with Cam, and you're using a 60-pound braid, even with 8 to 10 ounces of lead on that line, you still get a ton of line drag, and you have to fish at a different speed. It's no different than when you're trying to drift fish. You're trying to get down quick, stay on the bottom, but keep a semi-natural presentation and a semi-steady current speed with that presentation, that if you have too heavy a line, you're going to have to up your weight and up your weight and up your weight until you're casting and it's getting snagged immediately because your line's not cutting through the water and it's getting a lot of resistance from the current.
Well, one thing to take note too is that's where a lot of these companies have started coming out with like 8 carrier braids and stuff, because they can make the braid a lot stronger, but they can keep it at a smaller diameter, so they can basically, like, I think a 40 pound is like a 10 pound equivalent to mono.
Mm-hmm.
So like going with like an 8 carrier like Dominate or Tough Line or any other brand out there that makes an 8 carrier. You've been using Dominate for how long now, Cam?
Well, Tough Line for like, I mean, they were like the original. So it's
Braid?
kinda,
Yeah.
Braid.
You've been using Tough Line forever then.
Oh yeah, ever since Braid came out.
Yeah.
But and the nice part, this is going to throw a lot of you guys watching tonight that watch a lot of these live feeds and stuff for a loop, because this is complete opposite from what we're talking about normally, the float fishing and stuff. We want something that's going to cut through the water, isn't going to sit well on the surface, and is going to get you down, but be strong enough to fight big fish and also snag up a lot and be able to get your stuff back over and over and over again without constantly retying everything back up. But that 30-pound range, I don't go anywhere over 30 pound. You might even go lighter. Like back in the day, you watched the old school, the old Fishing with Larry back in like the 70s and stuff, and they're 8-pound monofilament line, main line, 8-pound leader. And why that was is because they needed line that got through the water and down to the bottom, and it was that much more effective, even if they were breaking fish off.
I'm seeing a couple of people say that they use mono.
Mono about 10.
You know,
Yeah.
so
10,
the funny thing is, I was thinking about it. I've probably caught more fish steelhead in my life drift fishing mono than I have on a float rod.
Yep.
But do you think, a big question, do you think it makes a better presentation?
No.
Or is it just how it was?
I don't, because I think it's how it was, and a lot of people have the mono ingrained. But going from like I said, I've probably caught more. That's a big statement. I've
Right.
probably caught more fish.
There was more fish
mono
back then,
to-
either,
well, there was
too.
more fish back then, and all we did was drift fish
Yep.
eggs. Like that was it. Maybe a corky yarn. It was eggs. Even with that said, I would still rather drift fish with a 30-pound braid because it's a thinner diameter, and because of that thinner diameter, I believe that it does not drag like some of that 15 and that 20-pound test, and there's no stretch.
The sensitivity.
The sensitivity is unmatched
Yeah.
compared to using mono on a long cast or anything like that. So and you got the abrasion resistance as well. I mean, a lot of times if you're running mono down to where your lead was and you're constantly dragging it or trying to pick around boulders and you're trying to like drift fish, where now we would float fish every time, but back then we would try to drift fish it. And you'd always wear like the first couple feet of your mono up from your lead or whatever you're doing. You have that durability with the braided line. So I enjoy drift fishing with a 30-pound braided line all day.
It was funny. I fished with a guy down in California the other day, and they're just old school side drifters down there. And so we were using his stuff, and we got in the boat, and he had everything spooled up with brand new line, and it was all mono. And I felt like I had my shoes on backwards all day. It was so weird to go back to fishing mono like that after fishing braid for the last 7 8 years, maybe even more. Like every single day, don't even look at mono anymore. And but I guess the end all tell all of what we're talking about here is we like to stick with the braid, and it's a lot. It's just the sensitivity. You pair a braided line with the right diameter with a sensitive, high quality rod, and I mean, you can stand next to like Cameron or I or anybody that drift fishes a lot, and it's like sand, rock, stick, leaf, rock, stick, fish. All right, there you go. You know what I mean? And there's no guesswork in it anymore. It's not like all of a sudden, well, what is that? Boom! Oh, I got one. It doesn't happen anymore. You know, it's like, oh, that's a bite. That's a bite. Feed it to him. Feed it
A lot
to
of
him.
times with
Fish
the
on.
mono, it was loaded. It would just your rod would just kind of load up like a rubber band a little
You
bit.
feel it
and
stretch.
You feel like this whoop whoop, and now it's like you'll feel them like, whoop whoop whoop.
Yeah.
And when they suck that bit,
It is one of the best takes. It really is. The drift fishing take is awesome.
Cool. So you talked about rods, you talked about reels.
We didn't talk about reels. I saw quite a few comments asking, and Okuma has a few, like what, 2 or 3 different models of this size of bait casting reel. The Helios, correct?
They have a Helios. They have a new one that they just came out
I
with.
like
They
this
have a
Joe guy.
Citrix.
I agree. Sorry, keep going.
What'd Joe say?
So I've been catching steelhead salmon for 45 years. All we had was mono back then, but braid is much better. Completely agree.
Awesome.
Joe's smart.
The only time I would go
You like Joe?
I like Joe.
with the
I
mono,
like Joe.
would be on smaller waters. Like if you were like in a drift fish, a creek or something.
Yeah,
Something like that, you wouldn't really want to
doing the old 2 to 6 noodle or something.
Yeah, a smaller rod or something.
I bet there's time and place, but I bet it's probably 5% of what we would encounter. Maybe what we'd encounter. Maybe not the guys back east. I don't know.
Clint, did we get to
Good
500?
point.
You're 6 away.
Oh, 494. You guys are terrible.
All you guys watching, if you guys want an opportunity to win a Gerber tri-tip, share it out there. Share the live feed out there. Text messages to a couple buddy. Let's get this thing up over 500 people, and we're going to draw someone to win this thing. And make sure you're dropping some comments below, because we're going to randomly select from those comments a winner. All right, what's next, dude?
So, next most important thing, in my opinion.
There you
a
go.
lot of
There it
people-
is, straw winner, Clint. Cut you off, Jordan. Sorry, dude.
It's all right.
Oh, 517. How did it go up that fast?
You guys are amazing.
Wait,
There's
go scroll
500.
again.
Because people are probably sharing it out there. They're probably texting it to their buddies. If you guys are new to the channel and you're on our YouTube channel, don't forget, tap that little subscribe button down in the corner. We're live every single Wednesday on here talking fishing. And as we start getting more daylight here in the Pacific Northwest, we'll do a lot more on the water fishing. So we'll be out there kind of chasing fish, and hopefully you guys can see us catch one live, even though it really never happens.
We have a live feed curse, but we have an addicted life.
It does when I do
Blessing.
really 10.
All right. There you go. There's your guy.
Ryan Colup. Ryan Colup on Facebook. You won yourself a Gerber tri-tip. Shoot us an email to orders@addicted.fishing. Orders@addicted.fishing. Make sure you include what you won and your shipping address, and we'll get this thing shipped out to you, dude.
Thoughts on using bass fishing bait casters for steelhead?
Works great.
You can.
Why not?
You definitely can. Like,
Yeah.
It's just like using one of the normal
I wouldn't recommend it,
3000
though.
series.
Why?
Yeah, why?
it's too short, especially like most bass fishing bait casters. Like every single one of mine, the longest one's 8 feet long.
You mean a
So
rod?
you said
Or
reels.
Real.
Oh, reel.
Real. I was gonna say pretty much that's
Yeah.
what they are.
Yeah, any
Yeah,
fancy
yeah.
reel.
Just
Yeah.
Watch about getting too high speed of a retrieve is what only thing I would worry about.
I just like to have a
similar
little
one.
No
Your
such
line
thing.
capacity too.
Yeah, I like to have I thought he was talking rods because I just like to have a longer rod to control my line better. Just have more control of my setup.
Shane, we're getting to that just next, so stay with us. What he's asking everybody, Shane's asking, when you're drift fishing, are you going to run straight to the swivel, or are you going to run a mono or a fluorocarbon top shot? And me, back in the day, you fished hatchery holes or popular spots on the river, and right when braid started coming out, I remember vividly all the old timers sitting there and cussing all the people on the bank that fished braid because they were losing big chunks of braid in the river, and you'd get snagged up, and every single drift you'd make through there after that, you'd snag up and break off on that braid. So because of that, what I always started doing, and I can agree, it happens a lot. If you guys do run your stuff straight to the swivel or straight to your lead presentation, I do feel like you're going to leave a lot more braid in the river. So I always tie a bumper on, just like we do with our hardware setups. A lot of times when I'm going to go to drift fish, I don't even really take a designated drift fishing rod. I grab one of my rods with a piece of hardware on it. I cut the spinner off, the same bumper and everything that's normally on that hardware setup. I put a swivel on and I tie up the rest of my drift fishing setup. So I always tie anything between a 3 to a 6 to 10 foot bumper. Depends on what you're going to want to do. I use just a 20-pound fluorocarbon. I like to stick with a 20 so that you're not making sure you're not breaking off your lead and everything every time. You can actually break that leader if need be, so you can get your good stuff back. And then I go straight to the swivel from there. So what I use here,
Probably switch spots with Cam and start going side cam action.
Yeah.
Side cam.
So now we're gonna go down to some of the setups, and Jordan's gonna actually walk through a few different.
Do you have any slinkies here?
Probably somewhere. I don't know where.
You
That's
don't.
another
Be
great-
honest.
No, I think I really do.
Good question, Justin. And we're almost there.
Slinky? You have a torch?
I mean, do you have all the stuff to make a slinky?
Charles is like, you guys want to
Do you?
learn how to cook meth?
You have it?
You got a torch?
Wow. That's a stretch there, bud. Do you have the stuff?
I do have the stuff to make slinkies.
Bust it out. Let's go.
You dead
That's a guy that's contributing to the live feed right there. You all watching?
Way to go. Be more like Charles.
What?
What? I just woke up.
No.
Colton now.
Yeah, because he stole it all.
There's so much.
Where were we at?
Ryan Olmstead. Doesn't the swivel reduce sensitivity? Why not tie your mono to fluoro to the braid directly? I don't think a swivel ruins sensitivity much at all. Because a lot of it, again, this is a tight line presentation. Is what it comes down to. The whole sensitivity thing, like say sturgeon fishing or catfish fishing, when you're tying straight to your weight and then off the bottom and you're fishing in still water or in a lake, or say even trout fishing, that's going to ruin your sensitivity by having that weight inflict on. I mean, and every guy's going to have his own opinion. They're just like your butthole. They're all different and they all stink.
What the?
You never heard that?
No.
I've heard that, but why are you saying it here?
Let's
just be honest.
It's somebody saying like, oh, well, I would never drift fish with a fixed weight.
First I'm talking about meth, and he's talking about buttholes.
I'm out.
Kara's out. He's not in this life anymore.
You get the gist, though. There's going to be somebody out there that goes, oh, I would never drift fish with my weight stuck straight to my swivel. Well,
Look at you, dude. He's got tough line. He's even got tough line slinky drifter cord.
Gotta stay true, right?
Side cam action. Charles has been doing a lot of drift fishing lately. He told me he's been getting a lot of his fish drift fishing this year.
those are some good BBs there, Charles. Well done.
Oh, yeah, that's what he uses. That's Charles's favorite setup. 3 black corkies
Below the hook.
right below the hook.
Always below the hook.
Oh my gosh.
But anyhow, we'll get into where we're fixing the weight on too. But to kind of go with that question, it's a tight line presentation. So having a free sliding weight is not going to hinder you or make your presentation any better, because when that fish grabs it, your line's going to continue downriver and the fish is going to be on anyways. You're not going to miss a fish's bite necessarily by not having a sliding weight up and down your line. You're not missing any sensitivity in that regards. You're going to feel it get pulled off the bottom is what's going to happen. So I just go with my 20-pound bumper
Side
to my
cam.
swivel. You can either use a 3-way swivel. I usually sometimes even use just a barrel swivel. And we're going to go over all the options for putting your weight on this here in just a second. But I usually go with my heavier line to the side. If I have a normal barrel swivel, 3-way, I'm going to go to each end, whatever. But if I am fishing it like this with a normal swivel, which I do all the time, I'm going to run it to the side with the 20-pound with the clevis, so that if I do get snagged, I'm pulling on that tough side with my lead and not my smaller diameter fluorocarbon that's going to be coming off the other end from my leader.
I see, really quick, Jordan, I'm going to answer this question because it's been asked 450 times already in this live feed. We are not going to tell you guys when the floats are coming out because we just don't know. So when they come and they hit stores, we'll announce it. If you don't follow us on Instagram, make sure you follow us on Instagram, because that will probably be the first place you see it is on our Instagram story. So if you want to see more live, up-to-date, current things that's happening with Addicted, follow us on Instagram. The floats will be here before winter steelhead season is over. I don't know when, but sometime in that window.
We're tired of telling you guys dates and having it
Yeah.
not be true.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Addicted floats are bust.
I
I know,
will-
guys, trust me. I will tell you this. When I got the last round of samples, I'm really excited to say I've been fishing a couple of them for like 5 days in a row now, and they're ready.
They're dog fetch approved.
They're dog. Yeah, we threw them out. We even had Little go playing fetch with one of them just to make sure that they're dialed this time.
Chucking it across the gravel bar, he'd run over and grab it and bring it back.
So they're coming. I promise. They'll be here eventually. We'll let you know exactly when they're hitting stores when we know an exact date.
addicted to corkies. That's funny.
You need corkies?
No, I might need corkies at some point. We're gonna take this step by step, everybody. And the more interruptions that these guys create, the longer it's gonna take.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. I'm just
I'm gonna go
kidding.
get you some
I'm just kidding. All right, so we got our 20-pound down to our swivel. Now what we're gonna do is add our leader, and this is probably the most controversial part of this whole live feed. Correct? How long do you make your leader to drift fish? Well, it depends on what you're trying to do, really. Can't go back to the normal camera. I'm gonna talk about a couple things. So my biggest thing a lot of the time with drift fishing, and like one of the things why drift fishing has kind of died,
All my life.
you know, in some certain areas, especially over the recent future or the recent past, is because of the way people use drift fishing to snag fish, flossing, or we hear all the terms joked around about in here all the time. And the reason that is because guys like to do this method, fish super duper long leaders, 10 to 12 feet long. They're rolling it up on the bank behind them like a lasso, and then casting it out, and using that long leader presentation to floss their fish and snag them. It's completely illegal almost every river in, I don't know, the
I've
Pacific
been
Northwest.
getting all my fish drift fishing literally with like an 18-inch.
Yeah, let them get to there.
Yeah. And so what I do, and this is, I never, and I've in some of the tutorials that we have on the YouTube page, I've explained this many times, I never really fish a drift fishing setup over about 4 feet long. It depends on the kind of water that you're fishing. If you're fishing really fast water, you want a shorter leader. If you're fishing really slow water, you want a longer leader to get that presentation away from your lead. So, but what I mean, I'm talking about a 2-foot realm here. What I like to do every single time I go to set up my drift fishing setup, and everybody's bodies are different sizes, but I put the spool line in my chest and I go out 1 arm length, and that's what I cut. I'm going to hang that up just like that, and I'm going to cut that. And almost every time that comes out to about the proper length. And what we're looking at here is about 3.5 feet. That's just over a yardstick, I'd say. And that's going to be your typical length. That's going to work for almost any kind of presentation. A lot of times if I'm going to be fishing a big presentation or like a 20 mil soft bead or something like an arrow puff or something in that regard that floats really well, I'm going to shorten my leader even more. If I'm fishing a small bead, I'm going to stick with that 4.5 to 3 foot length. And that's going to go right onto my swivel. Go ahead.
I remember there was a time, like, kind of like in my high school like days, still playing the 6-pound leader game. Oh, you got to be stealthy. You got to be stealthy. You'd go down to the river with like a 7-foot leader, little bait eggs, little lead, and the guys with the short, 24-inch leaders would just sit there and just mop us all day because that weight gets down, and the longer it took that weight to start dragging or to start even ticking on the bottom, because you didn't want it to drag, you wanted it to tick. There wasn't a lot of resistance to like pull that bait eggs down.
Right.
And the guys with the shorter leaders, they cast in the top of the run, and their bait was down in that steelhead's face in their zone right away, and we probably weren't even fishing half the run that those guys were.
It's almost like a bobber dogging with the small weight. It takes 30, 40 feet for it to even get close to that fishing zone.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what you're using if it's not in front of them.
Right. So that goes back to that. Just religiously, I kind of stick with that same length. From the chest on out to the end of the arm, and that's my leader length. From there, this is where it gets pretty freaky. Well, let's talk about the weights first. Charles, we'll have you step in here and you can make one of the slinkies and stuff. But, there are so many different ways to do this. You do it,
You're the
dude.
guy, dude, you do it.
I never use slinkies. I use pencil lead. Like a real man.
I
Pencil
just
lead guy,
started
too.
doing that.
I'm just like, I can't even remember the last
You
time I
scared?
made a slinky.
You scared?
I haven't
you
made
scared?
one yet.
Okay, then.
I use Dave's.
All right. So, to go alongside that, we'll go to the side cam. We're going to lay out a couple of the things. We're not even going to make a slinky because it doesn't really matter that much. We'll show the material.
All that effort and we're not making a slinky?
Where's my pencil lead?
You want me to make one?
On the side cam. Yeah, if somebody wants to, I can make a slinky. No problem. I just didn't really want to.
Okay, you're on side cam.
Viewers want to see it, Julian. Okay, fine.
Pencil lead.
Oh, this is gonna be great.
Oh, this should be good. Clint's going to make a slinky. This should be fun.
So
This is
nobody
getting
pay attention
dangerous.
to this part.
All right.
Do
So-
the opposite of what Clint does.
Yeah, whatever you see Clint do, don't.
So there are so many options to do in this, you guys, for what you're going to use for your lead. We use a lot of times lately. A lot of guys have been using these Dave's Tango Frees, and those are actually pretty sweet because they have that somewhat bouncy presentation. You're not littering lead into the river if you do lose your weight. And honestly, it actually it's almost like the slinky where it doesn't have that same real abrupt like ticky feeling, as you would explain it, Cam. It has more of a it has a bouncy feeling. You can feel the rocks and you can feel it dragging across the bottom a little bit better than if you're using some sort of lead, which just chemically, lead likes to stick to rocks as it goes across. Just the abrasion of that lead and the river bottom. Exactly, it's the calcium bonds. But the way
Why is Clint in the live feed?
he's not. We're on side cam.
Make a slinky.
Do we lose all the viewers?
That's not gonna work.
Behind the camera. Do this for us.
Which,
Hey, go back to main cam.
I'm trying to make a slinky. Ow! Ow!
I agree
I'm not
with-
making you a slinky.
Hold on. Let's slow down here. Let's get back on task here. I do agree with what you're saying. Pencil lead does feel different than slinkies and does feel different than the Dave's Tangle Free.
right.
And I prefer, like I said, just the tick of pencil lead
Yep, the
because
stickiness
you
of
can
it.
immediately tell if you're dragging over sand, if you're dragging over rocks, if your leads are hanging.
Told you I was the offender.
They're playing with the light.
Anyways, they're playing with a lighter. Bunch of funny dudes. Yeah, so I prefer pencil lead. So let's go to side cam. Let's break down some pencil lead and how to break this down. Because honestly, if you guys are gonna start drift fishing, you can do the slinky game, you can do the Dave's Tangle Free game, or you can go get a spool of pencil lead for about $2.99 and it's gonna last you forever.
I need some pliers. We're missing some pliers.
There's some
You
You
pliers.
got any
Pliers?
pliers over there?
Yeah, hold on.
Oh, cool. Corkies.
What are those? Floating beads.
Yeah, floating beads, styrofoam beads.
Floating
But
beads.
to kind of go over it, we're going to show you guys a quick little run through of the pencil lead. I have some. You can either get hollow core pencil lead, which goes along with a little bit different trick that we'll show you here in a second. I like to use a solid pencil lead and punch a hole in it. So one thing I do, again, you can use the simplicity of a Dave's Tangle Free. You got your three-way swivel or your barrel swivel. You go right through here, you grab your Dave's Tangle Free, you stick it on, and you're ready to fish. But in a lot of senses, with the way that the Dave's Tangle Frees are weighted, I'm not going to be able to just grab a half-ounce horned fish. I'm going to need something a little bit lighter or a little bit heavier. There's so many times on the river when I'm fishing pencil lead in particular that I'll reel up, I'll cut, a 6 inch, yeah, just trim a little bit off, and it fishes that much better, and you notice you'll catch a fish the next cast. This is a very intricate style of
found
fishing.
some?
Yeah, everyone must have sitting right here.
Unbelievable.
So you can go with the
I
Dave's
did.
Tangle Free. You can go with the Slinky, which we're going to show you. You can also, a lot of times what people will do, you guys, is with the hollow core lead, like so, but this is solid. They'll tie a piece of line, a 20-pound test or so, off the end of that swivel, just a normal tag piece of line. You'll actually cut your pencil lead, whichever length you want, slide it over that piece of line because it's the hollow core, and then you'll take your pliers and actually crimp that down onto your line. I don't have any hollow core here, so we're not going to show you that method. Plus, that's one of the methods I wouldn't actually encourage as much because you do leave a lot of lead in the river that way. If you're going to be losing stuff, slinkies you seem to get back a lot. The Dave's Tangle Free, if you do lose them, they're not a lead product. They're actually, I don't know what they are.
Steel.
Steel. But I like to use the hole punch method with my pencil lead, which I'll show you guys here right now.
Yes, sir.
What I usually do, I get just on the end of it here, I stick only about halfway across the teeth of that pencil lead into those pliers like so, and I'm going to crimp that down nice and flat, just like that. Gerber hasn't come out with anything yet that is the hole punch plier. You can either get hole punch pliers. One thing that I've been doing a lot lately, just out of sheer quick, just either use some sort of hook you have laying around the boat, like a 1/0 or something. I'll use my hook. I'll stick it right on the edge, right where I want that hole to be. That lead's nice and soft. I'll wiggle that hook back and forth, just like that. I've used sticks. I've used whatever you needed to.
I always
got
carried
it
a
on
big.
there.
I always carried a big 5-aught.
Yeah, and I just use the hook point there. I squeeze that through there. Where's the? This is another good Gerber ploy.
A lot of people make lead pliers for stripping hollow core and the hole punch and everything
Right.
on them.
What happens to me whenever I've ever gotten different pliers for punching lead holes is they sit in the bag so much they get rusty and I
They
can't
get
use them.
rusty or they
So that's the
fall off.
beautiful thing about these pliers in general is you can leave them in the bottom of your bag forever and they're not going to go bad. But what I'll do then here, I'll usually use my Gerber pliers because they're just on my hip. I'll usually start with, depending on where you're fishing, you know, how high the river is, whatever you're doing, you're going to judge what amount of lead you want. But typically you're never going to need more than about probably 1.5 inches worth of lead right there. I use my Gerber pliers. I make a little cut in that to just kind of...
Those are Gerber scissors, bud.
Oh, Gerber scissors. Sorry. I'm not on my vocab today, you guys. And there we go. We're set. That goes right on there. And what I'll do a lot of times is I'll kind of gauge what the river level is going to be in my imagination, what I think we're going to be fishing, and I'll make up 5 or 6, 7 of these, and I'll just stick them in my coat pocket or in my tackle box or wherever I need to. It goes along the same lines as the Dave Tangles. And, you know, even another option, if you don't have pencil lead, if sometimes you go to the store, they're all sold out of the good pencil lead. I'll even put that tag end of line on there, and I'll use like a number 7 split shot. I'll put 4 or 5 split shot on that tag end of line, and that's what I'll drift fish. That way, if I am getting snagged, it'll come off.
Do you find those on the riverbank too?
No, I didn't find those. No, those are a lot harder to see for me.
Yeah.
So, that's the lead end of it. Are we going to make one of these really quick? Okay, that end's done. Let's see if we can do this.
I got whipped, so no.
Let's
I'm
make
not doing it.
That lighter doesn't work.
Yeah, I know. I found that out.
No.
This is going great. Alright. Uh-oh, they're not coming out. We're going to just have to hand feed them, boys.
Hand feed them. Do you need a lighter?
Yeah, we will eventually. So what we're doing here is making a slinky, everybody. These tough line slinkies come with this little slinky cord. You get the BB size. Actually, these might even be a little bit bigger than the BB size. Depends on, again, what style of river, how big the water is you're fishing. And you're just going to feed those things right in there. The interesting thing about the way a slinky feels when you're fishing it is basically you don't feel much. It slides along the bottom. It doesn't stick to the rocks much at all. And you don't feel as much of that abrasion or that tick that me and Cameron were talking about that you would feel with like a normal hollow core lead or a Dave's Tangle Free or something like that. So I've added, 2 or 3 of those in there, 4 or so. And we're going to find a lighter wherever it went. And we'll continue this. Turn that bad boy off. And that's a slinky. Got it?
And did you melt it?
Not yet.
I got the Bic. Flicking the Bic.
Okay. I'm gonna melt that bad boy down.
Now when I'm using those slinkies, I'm using a 3-way that also has a snap
Yeah.
swivel off thing.
What I like to use is get it nice and hot, wet my fingers, and then squeeze it flat, just like so. That way you have a little pad there to actually stick that through there. And now what we can do,
Snap off thing.
yep, use the snap
Fucking works great.
from your deal here, just like so. You're gonna stick that right through that little melted piece of plastic. Oh, something like that. Normally, a lot of guys will actually use like a little something to actually keep that on there. Mine got a little out of hand here. I'm gonna trim her down. But a lot of guys will use a little pin or, again, a hook or something to actually create that little hole in that slinky. And that way, you're ready to go. You're fishing. And the slinky is, again, just a really different feel. It gives a lot of different not necessarily presentation, but as far as what you're feeling registered through your rod tip is a lot softer. It's not as much of an abrasive drag and bump and tick. And each one of these styles of lead setups, whether it be your Dave's Tangle, your slinkies, or your pencil lead, is going to all have a little bit different things. So you're going to find over time what you prefer more, honestly. All right.
Could you imagine if I just...
I just cut through all of them. All right, well, let's talk about the million things that we can put on the end of this setup.
Craig. He'd open his box up in the morning and be like, "Are you kidding me?"
I think
Well,
number
we're on
1
anchor
would
for
have
about
to be
45
Oh.
yarn.
That would be savage.
Slinkies are overrated.
They are.
A slider lead does, but you're going to get tangled a lot. That's like the main reason why I would never use a slide weight on your line.
I like a slider. Like I like a slider for my sled on big runs because like I think you do feel a little better for it. But if you watch and you cast something out, you can get that separation where that lead will move away from the swivel, and once it hits the water, it will slide away from that swivel, and it takes a little longer for your gear to get down. So depending on if I'm doing like a big 200-yard side drift run, I like sliders. If I'm just pocket shotting stuff and I need that bait to get down it quick, just fixed 3-way.
Yeah, I only.
Drinking a rain right now at freaking
Oh my god.
8 o'clock at night.
I gotta stay up for you guys.
You are gonna not go to bed till 1.
Awake.
That's right. Just filming Addicted Lives tomorrow.
But you know what? Got my leader feeder. Look what I accomplished already. I'm gonna be
Throw in the garbage.
Hey, let me see that. Thanks for tying all those for me.
Yeah,
oh wait,
right.
never mind, I
Wait,
don't
they're
use beads.
beads. Yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
use them.
Never mind.
This is Marlon's 10-year supply right here.
Exactly. It's gonna sit in the bottom of his bag until all the leaders are rotted away and
Right.
too brittle to use.
You'll just throw them away eventually.
All right. So if you guys could see the desk right now, it is just full of
disaster.
crap that you can put on the end of a hook when you're drift fishing. That is kind of the cool part of drift fishing. We've done the recent tutorials on the worms, the old school corkies, which we have here. We'll show you guys what those are: yarny, beads, bait, coon shrimp, prawns. I mean, really, it's endless. This is kind of one of the methods that really kind of started our style of steelhead fishing in the Northwest, and has evolved into how we all fish now with floats. But every single thing that we talk about and every single thing that we use can be utilized on the end of a drift fishing setup. So leader length, again, we're going to stick with that 3 to 4 feet depending on what we're doing. But we'll go through and show you just real quickly a few of the different setups. I'm going to tie up the Old Faithful.
Corky and yarn.
Yep, I'm going to do
Corky and
it.
yarn.
The Old
Floating
Faithful.
bead for all you newcomers.
That has to be like, oh gee,
The Pink Pearl Corky.
for Corky and some yarn.
And the yarn of your choice, and I'm going to go with red.
Tequila sunrise corky. And
Tequila!
That
That
was like my jam. I would not go steelhead drift fishing unless I didn't have a tequila sunrise corky on my fridge, my gear. If I find those, I bought like hundreds of them with like my lunch money.
Tequila sunrise.
Yeah, they're like the yellow, orange, pink ones.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so what we got here.
And kept your lunch money? I don't believe it.